You ever wonder why you feel so drained after spending hours scrolling through social media? Or why you can't seem to stay focused on anything without needing to check your phone every 5 minutes? It's like something is controlling you, right? Well, what if I told you it's not just your phone, it's your brain, and more specifically, it's dopamine. Dopamine's the chemical making you chase quick highs, but it's also what's destroying your focus, your drive, and ultimately, your happiness. Stick with me, and we'll dive into how this happens and, most importantly, how you can take control back. So, what's dopamine? You've probably heard people talk about it, but it's not just the pleasure chemical. It's more like the brain's motivational engine. Every time you do something that feels good, whether it's finishing a project, eating something delicious, or getting likes on a social media post, dopamine is released. It rewards you and motivates you to do that thing again. But here's where the problem comes in. We live in a world where we can get quick hits of dopamine all the time. Social media, video games, junk food, they all give us little dopamine rewards over and over. Our brains weren't built for this constant stimulation. They get overwhelmed. Think of dopamine as your brain's currency. The more you spend, the less valuable it becomes. The more hits of dopamine you get, the less satisfying each one feels. And before you know it, you're constantly chasing that next hit, but nothing ever feels as good as it used to. That's where you start to lose control. Now, here's the interesting part. Dopamine isn't just about feeling pleasure. It's about wanting more. It's the reason why you keep refreshing Instagram or binge watching Netflix episodes. You're not just enjoying it, you're looking for that next reward, that next little boost. This craving for dopamine rewires your brain. Think about this. When's the last time you watched a full movie without checking your phone? Or read a book for an hour without getting distracted? Chances are your focus has become scattered, and it's because you've trained your brain to expect constant stimulation. Remember that dopamine is released not just when we get the reward, but in anticipation of it. When you hear that notification sound, your brain releases dopamine before you even check your phone. It's tricking you into constantly seeking those little rewards. And over time, this craving gets stronger. You start needing more and more stimulation to feel satisfied. And here's the scary part. As you keep chasing these small dopamine hits, your brain starts to numb out the natural rewards. Things that used to bring you joy, like going for a walk, spending time with family, or just relaxing, don't feel as rewarding anymore. The more you feed your brain with quick dopamine, the more it starves for real, meaningful pleasure. So what's the solution? How do you take back control when your brain has been hijacked? That's where Stoicism comes in. Let's talk about Stoicism for a minute. It's an ancient philosophy, but its lessons are more relevant now than ever. One of the main teachings of Stoicism is to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. In today's world, that's exactly what we need to deal with the dopamine problem. Think about it. Can you control whether you get more likes on your Instagram post? Number, can you control how addictive a new game is? Definitely not. But can you control how you react to these things? Absolutely. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius believed that real strength comes from within. They taught that the mind has the power to remain calm and unbothered, no matter what external things are happening around us. When it comes to dopamine, we need to apply this same mindset. You may not be able to stop the world from throwing distractions at you, but you can train your brain to stop craving them. It's not about completely cutting out pleasure. Stoicism isn't about being a robot. It's about learning to control your urges rather than letting them control you. Imagine, for a moment, being able to scroll through your phone without feeling that constant urge to check every notification, or sitting through a movie without your brain tugging at you to check Instagram. That's the power of control. But how do we actually break free from this dopamine cycle? That's where the idea of a dopamine detox comes in. Have you heard of a dopamine detox? It's not some fad diet for your brain. It's actually a very practical way to reset your mind. A dopamine detox is when you take a break from all the activities that spike your dopamine levels. Things like scrolling through social media, binge watching TV, eating junk food, or playing video games. The goal here isn't to remove dopamine from your brain. You need it. But by stepping away from these activities, you give your brain a chance to reset. You lower your dopamine threshold. So, when you come back to regular life, you'll find that simple activities, like reading a book or having a conversation, feel rewarding again. Here are a few simple steps you can try. 1. Start small. Don't feel like you need to go all in from day one. Try starting with just one day or a few hours where you intentionally avoid your biggest dopamine triggers, whether that's your phone, video games, or even certain foods. 2. Schedule low stimulation time. Plan specific times during your day for low dopamine activities, things like reading, meditating, journaling, or even going for a walk. These activities help your brain adjust to finding pleasure in simpler things again. 3. One task at a time. Dopamine thrives on multitasking. The more you switch between tasks, the more hits of dopamine your brain gets. Try focusing on just one thing at a time. If you're working on a project, commit to doing only that. If you're spending time with family, put your phone away. 4. Mind your triggers. We all have moments where we unconsciously reach for our phones or look for quick distractions. Start being more mindful. When you feel that urge, pause. Ask yourself, do I really need this right now? Or am I just craving that dopamine hit? Remember, a dopamine detox is about breaking the cycle. The more you do it, the more control you'll gain. But what makes us so hooked on dopamine in the first place? Let's look at the psychology behind why we keep coming back for more. Let's dive into human psychology for a minute. Our brains are wired to seek out rewards because evolutionarily, it helped us survive. Back in the day, finding food or a safe place to sleep triggered dopamine releases because those were essential for survival. But now, our brains are bombarded with too many rewards, far beyond what they're meant to handle. Think about social media for a second. Every time you post something or check your notifications, you're engaging in what's called intermittent reinforcement. This is a psychological trick where you get rewards randomly. You don't know when you're going to get likes or comments, but you know they're coming eventually. This unpredictability keeps you hooked. Game developers, app designers, even fast food companies, they all understand how dopamine works, and they use this knowledge to keep us coming back. Random rewards make us addicted because our brains can't resist the possibility of getting that next hit. It's like pulling the lever on a slot machine. Maybe this time I'll get lucky. But understanding how this works is the first step to breaking free. Once you know your brain is wired to seek out these small rewards, you can start to see them for what they really are: tricks. You can start to detach yourself from the constant need for more. Stoicism offers a powerful way to break this cycle. One practice from Stoicism that can help rewire your brain is something called negative visualization. This is where you imagine life without the things that give you quick dopamine hits. What if social media didn't exist? What if video games weren't a part of your life? How would you feel? When you practice negative visualization, you're training your brain to appreciate what you have without constantly needing more. You learn to detach from the outcome and focus on what truly matters, what's within your control. This practice helps you realize that you don't actually need constant dopamine spikes to be happy. True contentment comes from within, and the more you train your mind to stop craving external rewards, the more peace and focus you'll find. So, what happens when you start to control your dopamine instead of letting it control you? First, you'll notice that your focus improves. The scattered, distracted feeling you have right now will start to fade. So, are you ready to take back control of your mind? Start small, embrace discomfort, and learn to find pleasure in the simple things. By understanding dopamine and using tools from Stoicism, you can stop being a slave to constant distractions and start living with purpose and clarity. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and let me know in the comments how you're planning to control your dopamine. See you in the next one.